Hello and welcome to the i3 lecture series hosted by the Masters in Digital Photography here at the School of Visual Arts. I'm Julie Graham. Tonight we will head back in time with Dustin Pittman to the glamour and glitter and grit of New York in the 1970s and 80s. This pop culture historian has an astonishing archive of New York's original influencers. We will go backstage at fashion shows and go live on stage in the clubs. It's hard to put it better than on the man's own website, so I quote, "Dustin has forged a career of stalking the weird, the bold, and the sublime in dimly lighted basements, galleries, and stray pockets of Manhattan's after-hours life." Dustin's assignments for W, Women's Wear Daily, Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and the New York Times Style magazine gave him all access to the workings of the fashion industry. He's also been a contributing photographer to the Andy Warhol Museum, Vanity Fair, V Magazine, Dazed, ID Magazine, among many others. Dustin's been exhibited at the Brooklyn Museum, the Roxy Hotel, Urban's Gallery, and many more. He's also another SVA alumnus, having studied film here during his Andy Warhol factory days. His monograph, Dustin Pittman, New York After Dark, is out now, but we have the privilege of seeing and hearing his fabulous stories in person. Would you please wave your hands in the air for Dustin Pittman?
I'm nervous. Thanks, Julie, and thanks, Tom, and Marco. Thanks, SVA, and thank you all for coming. You know, this is a community. It's so wonderful that you can show up and, you know, for other photographers, other artists, your fellow artists and your companions, because this is how it should be. You know, this is what my book's about, Dustin Pittman's New York After Dark. It's about you, the community, our people. And it's, you know, it's a book that you'll see in the photographs. It's like, it's a dance of life. And that's how I like to look at it. So I like to start with a quote, one of my favorite quotes from Rutger Hauer from Blade Runner, one of my favorite movies, Ridley Scott. But basically, that's like my life. So these are the eras that I grew up in. I just started shooting Gen Alpha and Gen Beta. So the other day I was at a Gen Alpha thing that was really incredible. I mean, just incredible. The way they dressed, the way they moved, their whole fashion sensibility, amazing. Nothing wrong with Gen X and Gs and the other hippies and beatniks and stuff, but you'll see, you know. But I was just blown away, Gen Alpha. So, you know. Anyway, I want to start out with DNA. This is my grandfather and my aunt were photographers in upstate New York. I grew up in Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York. I'm going to truly run this fast. But, and this is a picture of my grandfather taking a picture of the photographer, taking a picture of the nurse holding my mom when she was born. And this is 1916. So you know, when I was little, I used to go over to my grandmother and aunt's house because I started photography at the Boys Club in Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York at 6 years old. They gave us a camera, they taught us how to develop, and they taught us how to print, and they critiqued our photographs. And I would go out and shoot all my friends and aunts and uncles, and I grew up on a farm, so you know, a lot of animals and stuff like that. Shoot anything I could get in front of me. So this is some of my grandfather's photographs. I used to go, he used to show me like constantly like photographs in his cigar box and everything, but I would appreciate his composition, his lighting, his, you know, subject matter, his, you know, just everything, because he would photograph everything. So, you know, I love that, and that's what I photograph. I mean, I just don't photograph celebrities, I photograph every person. To me, you're a star. That's how I look at it. So this is my grandfather's photo. So my Aunt Catherine fell in love with an older photographer in upstate New York, and his MO, his subject matter was nature and wildlife. And they used to go up in 1916, 1917. This is my great aunt, Catherine. They used to go up into the Adirondack Mountains on a dark, moonless night in a horse and buggy and dirt roads, and no roads, and go up into the wilds of the Adirondacks and pick a glacier lake, hire a guide with a canoe, and they used to get in the canoe, and my aunt would sit in the front with the photographer with the camera strapped to the front, and they used to paddle out slowly and quietly on these glacier lakes in the Adirondack Mountains, and they used to shoot the wildlife, and she would hold the flash, then it was powdered flash, and the flash would go off and they would photograph wildlife like deer in headlights. And this is what the scene looked like. So this is like around 1918, 1917. That's what it looked like, and this is what they got. So I grew up on a farm. We had two barns, a working barn and a storage barn with hay and everything like that. And upstate, we had 3 channels, and there was like $1 million movies. The black and white movies would come on, and I would watch a lot of the influenced by a lot of the early movies and a lot of light and shadow and patterns. And I'm trying to talk faster because I got a lot to show. But anyway, so I learned a lot about light, shadow, and pattern from early Hollywood 40s movies, and I would mimic, because I didn't have a lot of money for equipment, so I'd mimic the light, shadows, and patterns from the old barn, and the slats in the barn. I would maneuver the slats and then put my subjects, whether it was cows or chickens or whatever, or my friends, and put them in the barn, and then, play with the light. And that's how I worked it, and these are some of the slats. These are like slats that I would manipulate. So that's how it was natural light, and that's how I really moved forward without spending a lot of money. So this is what I used to shoot, a lot of my friends. I had 2 cows, Heidi and Flower, and I know this sounds crazy, but I figured if I could direct them into a shot composition, I'd probably come to New York and be a photographer. So anyway, the other thing is about New York that really helped me is I grew up with 7 brothers and sisters, and they were really spaced out in age. And my older brother, in 1961, he moved to Greenwich Village. He moved to McDougal and Bleecker Street, and to this day, he lives there on McDougal and Bleecker Street. So if anybody saw the Dylan movie, that's exactly where he lives, right there across the street from Cafe Wa. So he lives exactly across the street. So I used to come down. My mom used to let me get on the Greyhound bus, come down to New York, and my brother would pick me up at Port Authority, and then I'd stay with him in McDougal Bleecker, and it was the beatnik era. It was the middle '60s, and it was like the Dylan movie, which is fantastic. But this is what the cafes, the Cafe Figaro, the Rienzi, the Tin Angel, the Bitter End, all the cafes. So and all this, Washington Square Park was all folk music and poetry readings, and it was wonderful. It was incredible. Everybody's running around carrying books, and it was just different. That was the beatnik era. So this is what it looks like. My brother's apartment is like right over here, And he moved in 61. He still has the same apartment, So I learned a lot from I knew the lay of the land of New York when I was little. I was lucky, and my brother dragged me everywhere, from the Electric Circus everywhere. So it was really great. So then, while I was in upstate New York, I got a job working. What happened was the legendary director Alan J. Bakula came to the Adirondack Mountains, and they shot The Sterile Cuckoo with Liza Minnelli and Wendell Burton. And that's when Liza was 17, 18 years old, and that's the movie she was nominated for Academy Award. And I was lucky enough to get a job as an assistant, a production assistant on the set, just doing odd things, but being next to Liza the whole time. And at that time, in 1968, 69, there wasn't a lot of bodyguards and PR and everything, so it was like, again, all access. She had all freedom. Liza and I and her then husband, Peter Allen, would, come up, and we'd sit on the lawn during lunch breaks, and we'd have lunch together, and we'd chat. And I'd photograph things and, do all this stuff, and it was absolutely incredible. But this scene knocked me out as far as wanting to do film and photography also, to, continue what I was doing. And this is a scene that she was nominated for Academy Award for. This is a scene, the first scene we shot in the movie is Stereo Cuckoo, and it was raining out. We went inside, the carpenters built this staircase and the landline, and what she's doing in this sequence is her boyfriend's breaking up from her. She's in college, at Hamilton College, up in Clinton, New York, in the Adirondack Mountains. And he's breaking up with her. And she has this 10-minute non-stop monologue. And it was 2 takes. And it blew me away. I was standing this far away from her phone. It was unbelievable. And to me, it just put me in another dimension. And so there's Liza, and there's Liza and I. So I've been friends with Liza since '68, off and on, through Halston days, through Rooney Sweeney's, the cabarets, all different things. So I just wanted to show you that. So in 1968, I came down because Liza said to me, Dustin, she said, you should come to New York or go to Hollywood and, pursue your photography and film because, I know you love images. And so because my brother lived in New York, and I told you she lived right in the Village, and I knew the lay of the land, and I knew that was like, energy, the action, that I came to New York. So I came to New York, Times Square, 1968. I got off the Greyhound bus. I saw a 1-hour photo, those 3 photos for 50 cents at the time, booth. And I ran into the booth and I documented my first minute in New York. And this is the first minute I came to New York. And that's at Port Authority. So that's what Times Square looked like when I got here. And now Times Square was really important to me because I spent a lot of time in time, my philosophy, my style of photography is to make lemonade out of lemons. Not that the models are lemons, but just to kind of borrow and use what I have instead of I try to avoid the permits and all this other stuff and all these legal details. And just like I thrive on spontaneity, I thrive on your energy. And so this is what Times Square looked like when I got here. So I did a lot of tons and tons of photographs in Times Square. It was my open air studio, and also in the west sides of New York on the piers. So this is what it looked like when I got here. And then a couple days ago, I took a picture of what it looks like now. So then, now. So, but you know what? New York. So this is some of the stuff I showed in Times Square. So I've used everything I could possibly use in Times Square. The theaters, the peep shows, the peep houses, the girls, the street people. These are shots from Times Square, in the 70s. So this is where all the theaters, you could go to the theater for 50 cents, stay all night, and sticky floors and crazy stuff. So then what happened was I was in New York in '68. Was it 68? Yes, it was 69, 69. God, I'm losing it. But anyway, I got a job. I knew the PR people, and I got a job hiring the people for the concession stands at Woodstock, the music festival up in Bethel, New York. And so I know there's inflation, isn't it? I got up to Woodstock, and I got there about a week and a half before it happened, and they were just moved over to Bethel. And they were building the stage, and they were testing out the sound system. And, I'm standing in Massey Yeager's alfalfa farm, where the alfalfa is up here. Nobody's there yet. There's no car, just the workmen, just the carpenters. And, our trailers are up above, the production trailers. And I said to myself, oh my God, I'm listening to Crosby, Stills and Nash testing out the sound system. And I went to the production trailer and I called every friend I possibly knew on the landline phone and said, get your ass up here now. I can get you a job in the concession stand, get paid, pitch your tent, and you'll have a great time. And everybody's playing, all the bands. Janis Joplin, Hendrix, The Who, everybody played. So it was wonderful. Santana, whatever. So that's what's I can't show a lot of Woodstock, but Anyway, I have a lot of pictures. So that was the year of, 69 was the year of pop festivals for me. I did the Atlantic City Pop Festival, I did Woodstock, I did the Dallas Pop Festival, I did the Strawberry Field, I did tons of pop festivals. I loved it, shooting pop, the music. And most of the time, a lot of times, and I love it, I'm not a person that runs to shoot, even though I shop the performers, musicians, celebrities, but I like shooting people. I like shooting the crowd. I like shooting the person, the people. I don't want to say real people, but I like if there's a bunch of photographers shooting this way, you can count on me. I'll be here, shooting this way. That's how I work. That's how I like to shoot. Nothing wrong with the other photographers shooting that way. So then what happened was in 1968, 69, Bethesda Fountain in Central Park was a really, really great place on Sunday afternoons. I'm sure some people were there, but it was a real scene. And people used to dress up in their Kings Row great dandy clothes. And they used to walk around Bethesda Fountain, and there was a cafe there was a sangria, and everyone used to get high on the wine and whatever. And then, and it wasn't what you wore. It wasn't Balenciaga or Prada. It was how you wore it. So that was important. And so people put together outfits in the 60s. This is 60s. So so in the 60s, that's what people did. They put together outfits, accessories, outfits, everything accessorized. Like now, that's what people are back to doing again. So then, when I'm walking around the fountain, this girl comes up to me and she says, "Oh my God," she says, "I want you to meet somebody." So she drags me by the arm and drags me down to Union Square West, and she introduces me to Andy Warhol. And this was taken in 1970 at Andy's factory. So, and Andy and I hung out, we just hit it off really well. And I think he really respected that, 69, so that he really respected the fact that, I wasn't in, Andy was Andy Warhol, but he wasn't like Andy Warhol now, like this big, demigod. So you know what I mean? It was like Andy Warhol, and he was an artist, of course an artist, great artist, and he was doing great work. He had, great shows at the Whitney and everything with his cows and wallpaper, and, I knew something, and so, I think he respected me, the fact that I didn't idolize him. I treated him like, just a friend, So that's one of the Warhol things. And this is the factory in 1970. Anyway, that's Paul Morrissey, the director who made a lot of the films. Jackie Curtis, everybody knows Jackie is from Walk on the Wild Side, right? And then Andy, and then behind is Viva and Jed Johnson and Little Joe. And there's some more pictures of the factory in 1970s. I'm going to go through these. I know they're a little bit with the screen and stuff, and so, but there's the pictures behind. This is a factory, and this is 1970. So I love this. I mean, you see, for me, anything goes for me. It's not just shooting the front of people, it's the back of people, the side of people, the silhouette, the proportion, the volume, everything. I mean, that's what I learned from my farm days. So that's Candy Darling. Candy Darling, everybody knows Candy Darling. If there was an Instagram or social media today, she'd be incredible. She was a superstar. But this is from a still from one of the films I did. When I met Andy, I was not yet in visual arts yet. Now I'm getting to that right now. And so in 1970, I went to this school, visual arts, which I love. And I just want to put a plug out for visual arts, because visual arts, I majored in film, minored in photography. And what I loved, I had my choice. I wanted to go to film school. And I had my choice between visual arts, NYU, Temple, Cal Arts, USC. I could have gotten any one of those schools, but I picked New York and I picked visual arts, because the reason why I picked visual arts, nothing wrong with NYU and everything, but the teachers at visual arts, which I loved, were out there actually working real time. They weren't teachers that were taught, they were 20 years teaching and then not worked 20 years ago. They were working on the scene real time. So the teacher, my cinematography, would come in from shooting a scene from The Exorcist, William Friedkin's The Exorcist, and talk about how they shot in a refrigerated, place to shoot, some of the scenes with a bed, and crazy. So anyway, that's my plug for visual arts. I loved it. So if anybody, visual arts, incredible. So these are some of the places I hung out, different, I'm just gonna run through these, bottom line, Fillmore. I went to the Fillmores every weekend. I can't believe now, I didn't realize it was only open for 3 years. I mean, I was there every weekend and like seeing all these bands and like Bill Graham and everybody, like these bands, like early bands like Slade and you name it, all these bands, Hawkwind, and everybody played there, I mean, Derek and the Dominoes with Layla, and like, the Allman Band, the Whipping Post, and like all these great music, So I lived across the street from CBGB's in 1977 for 2 years. And it was a dump then, it was really dump. I always thought it was going to change, and it did now. So this is the 82 Club. Some of my shots you'll see from the 82 Club. It was owned by two trucker girls, and it was really nice. It was on East 4th Street, down in the basement, and it was incredible. Everybody played there. So Max's, the back room of Max's was an incredible back room of Max's. Max's had, I just want to run these fast. They had 3 iterations of Max's, something that people don't know. The first iteration was the artists, like, Klaus Oldenburg and Jim Dine and Frosty Myers and all the artists that used to hang around the Cedar Tavern. They used to go to the Max's Kansas City and hang out. And the reason why they went there is because Mickey Ruskin, who was the owner, who also owned the Ninth Circle, would give them a free bar and food bill in exchange for a painting. So they didn't have to pay anything. They were artists, so they didn't pay. So that's what started Max's. And then when Andy moved to 33 Union Square West, where I used to hang out, he would take the Row House superstars, Jackie and Holly and Candy and Taylor and Andrea Whips and, Eric Emerson and, you name it, and then they would go there to the back room. The back room was the place to go with the round tables and the beautiful Richard Bernstein picture, the Jim Dine fluorescent light, incredible. So anyway, Dan Flavin. Anyway, I'll get on. So anyway, so why, I started using, I started visual arts in September 1970. And the reason why I started visual arts in the film department, because they really let me do anything I wanted to do. And already I was in relationship with the Warhol superstars and, hanging around. When I came to New York because of my brother and learning the lay of the land, I hit the deck running, so I was lucky. So this is in Jackie's loft, and this is Jackie Curtis, and she's holding up, Jackie was like, James Dean, and just like Candy Darling was like Kim Novak. And so like the thing is, we're talking about this new play, Vain Victory. This is 1971. And I was in Vain Victory, and I shot Vain Victory, but incredible. Everybody was in it. Mario Montez, Candy Darling, you name it. So this was in her loft, and this was an incredible loft. It's historic. The reason why it's historic was it was in 2nd Avenue and 12th Street. There's a movie theater there now, but it used to be a Yiddish theater. And across the street, her grandmother owned the bar called Slugger Ann's, and that was the bar. And so Jackie, after Jackie moved out, Peter Hajar, one of the legendary, famous photographers and great friend of mine, moved in with his lover, David. So this is the poster for Vain Victory in 1971, and it was a crazy play, off-Broadway, La Mama, and it was just nuts. I mean, it's like the cast changed every week, and it was nuts. Jackie said, if you forget your line, just keep on going. Crazy. So this is backstage. This is Jackie with the Andy tattoo. So, I'm going to blow through these, so, This is this is Mario Montez. This is Mario Montez. This painting here of the cow is an original Andy Warhol silk screening. Now, Andy at that time, and I just want to go through these, Andy at that time, when he shot movies with the superstars, Jackie and Holly and Candy and everybody, they didn't want paintings, they wanted cash. So Jackie and Holly and Candy says, I want $100. I don't want your painting. And so Andy would say, I'm broke, I'm broke. And so they used to give him paintings. So Andy donated the cow painting, original cow painting, and by the end of the play, it was totally trashed. I mean, everybody put their, whatever. So this is part of the Vain Victory. That's Candy and Jackie and Donna Belbys and Paul Ambrose. You know Paul, everybody knows Paul Ambrose, right? That's Eric Emerson. Eric was incredible, just incredible. I mean, it's like he was, to some people, was very scary. He used to carry on a whip. And he was incredible, you know, he was in great bands. And he was just an incredible guy, you know, incredible. And he died really sadly, but. So this is Hollywood Lawn. That's taken at Reno Sweeney's. Reno Sweeney's was an incredible cabaret on 13th Street. It's not there anymore, unfortunately. But it was incredible. Everybody played it, from Manhattan Transfer to you name it, everybody played there. It was an incredible place. So that's Holly. And what was great about it is, like in a lot of places that I like to photograph, is I liked the intimacy. I loved being close. You know, now, when I used to go to the pop festivals, the stages were low. Now the stages, they got 20 stages and they're 80 feet high. And even if you have all the armbands and wristbands and all access passes, you're still 50 feet away on the stage. So you can't get close. So this is Divine, the real Divine. And that's Jackie at the factory, Jackie Curtis. I'm gonna run these. This is a gay porn theater. This is in the book, the only one I could put in the book was Rizzoli. I'm doing another book. My book now is called New York After Dark, and the next one is called New York After Darker. So this is some of the darker. These are the piers, you know, where, you know, that we, you know, as gay, we could feel safe. Now we're getting to the nitty-gritty here. So this is the piers, and this is an example of my barn lighting. The slats, that's the light coming from the slats off the corrugated. And this is taken in 1968. That's on the Edgar Allan Poe House, which was a gay place to go, safe haven. And every Saturday, they used to have gay dances. And every Saturday, we used to get busted by the cops. So this is one of the. So this is the first, after, you know, Stone, I participated. One thing about my life is that I wasn't just a photographer, I was a participant. I believed in the causes. And so I showed up with my camera, but I was a participant, I was part of that. I felt that in my heart. I believed in the cause. I believed in this, you know, the identity. And this was really important for the start, you know, capturing or recapturing individuality and capturing and recapturing individual identity. And also, again, community. And so this was taken on Waverly Place in the Village, across the street from Stonewall. This is the first gay liberation march. People call it a gay parade, but it's called a march. And the thing is, because we were marching for a cause. And so, unfortunately, we're back there again. So, you know, the assembly here, this was taken in the assembly, was like on a Sunday, and like, you know, at that time also I was working for Grove Press, Evergreen Review, Barney Rossett. And so this was in Evergreen Review, the magazine. But anyway, there was only about 150 people that assembled for this, the beginning of the march. And the police, the city only gave us about 5-6 feet from the curb. The traffic was still there. So, you know what, and all the way, we marched from Waverly Place all the way up 6th Avenue to Central Park, and we're going to have a be-in. It was called a love-in. And everyone got together, and, you know, but Fortunately, even though we were being called all kinds of names and throwing garbage and everything else, and faggot and queer and whatever, and you know what? People started assembling, and then we wound up with almost 1,000 people in the Bean. So this is part of the parade. And you can see us marching there, and these are regular traffic. This is not floats like now. This is not like Chemical Bank, you know. So this is 1970, and that's the Bean of Central Park. I'm only, like I said, this is just a slice of from 1968 to 1980, maybe 81. That's it. There's like more years than that. So then, you know, we had these marches and people were able to feel a little freer, you know, a little safer. And so then I started participating in the first Women's Rights March. This is 1970. And that was really something too. This is 3 years before Roe versus Wade. And we're back there again. So, you know, this was a real, like, important march. No, this is no digital. This is all film analog. So I just want to let you know that, you know. But and you always had these guys around, you know. There's always these characters on every protest. There's always these characters, you know. But you got to photograph them, you know, because you document, you know. Betty Friedan was in this march. This is the first trans person that I knew, Patessa. This was taken at Studio 54 in 1977. I spent a lot of time in Studio 54. I knew Ian Schrader and Steve Rebell, the owners, and it was incredible, all access. They let me stay after hours till the place closed. This is Angel Jack from the incredible Coquettes. They were a troupe, a dance and performance troupe out of San Francisco, and they were absolutely wonderful, incredible. I mean, this is individual identity, you know, like owning your own sense of self, self-preservation. Well, here's it is. Okay, so this shot, the reason I picked this shot is because you can't really do this today. This was taken at the Waldorf Astoria Grand Ballroom, Republican Convention. And it was my friend Mark Steven, who was a famous porn star. And he said, Dustin, he said, I'm going to introduce my new club. He said, get your camera ready. So he takes all of his clothes, he stands on the table, and he screams out to all these Republicans, hi, I'm Mark Stevens, a famous porn star, and I am starting the Mark Stevens 10.5-inch club. And this is Coney Island. I love Coney Island because, you know, it was really great in those. You know, I love carnies, carnivals, Coney Island, that kind of stuff. You know, I kind of grew up in that area. So this is a great shot because this is you know, this is like a model, but I shot this shot in Coney Island. But what's nice about making like lemonade from lemons is like I didn't have a guy. And so I went over to the operator of the bumper cars and I said, would you be my model? So he became my model for these shots. And he said, I loved it. I said, thanks a lot. I paid him. I gave him some money. He said, oh, I loved it. So this is Klaus Nomi, his famous, you know, Klaus, beautiful voice, operatic, incredible, just incredible. And there he is again. This is taken at the Mud Club in 1978, 79, something like that. And that's Gita. Gita went to school with me in 1970 at School of Visual Arts, and that's Cheetah Chrome. So that's Gita and Cheetah Chrome. They're going out together. And this is my friend Bobby. He was a sex worker. He used to dance and perform at the Gilded Grape on 8th Avenue. And Andy Warhol loved the Gilded Grape. Loved it. Loved those shows. And, you know, we sat there, you know, every week, all that stuff. You know, it was wonderful hanging out with him because we had a really, really great artist community. He, you know, he always gravitated to rich, wealthy people. Like Edie Sedgwick, you know Edie Sedgwick? The, she had a trust fund. She came to New York with $85,000, and Andy and her burnt that out in like 6 months or 8 months or a year or whatever. Then they weren't friends. Or Bridget Berlin, Bridget Polk. She came from money from Germany and stuff. And so we had two friends, Charles Rydell and Jerome Hill, who were heir to the Pullman car. And they had 2 suites at the Algonquin Hotel, and they had a huge 37-acre house and land out in the Hamptons. And Andy and I and Larry Rivers and Terry Southern and a lot of people, Charles Henry Ford, and you name it. We used to go to the Algonquin on Charles and Jerome for dinners every week, like the Algonquin Round Table, and have this great, huge, and Andy would have his tape recorder and his Polaroid or whatever, and his autofocus camera, and we just chat. So this is Bobby again. This is Bobby. He was a sex worker at Go the Grape. And I photographed, this was in my studio, was literally underneath 23rd Street. You had to go through the manhole to get to my studio. And that's where I shot this. And I shot Bobby. And this is Bobby as Logan, Bobby. And that's Bobby. So that's Bobby. And this is inspired by my teacher after visual arts, was Philippe Halsman. And he did the portrait of Marilyn. And I know it's not nothing like his, but it's close. Close enough. Divine. And that's Bobby again down in the basement. And this is what I mean, like I love shooting things like, I did a lot of editorial where I did a lot of sittings where, it took 5.5 hours to do hair and makeup, and then you bring them on the set, and then, you take the bag in, you take the bag out, you do this, you do that, and all that stuff. I said, oh my God, this is so fucking boring. I can't do this anymore. So I got away from that. I moved away from that and went back to simplicity with my just couple cameras and a couple lenses, and just said, fuck it, I'm just gonna do what, that's it, cinema verite, underground cinema, just like my films. Joey Ayers, Amanda Lepore. This is, I just want to show you these now because these are like people with identities. See, what really intrigues me about these photographs is the fact is it's not what they're wearing right now. It is what they're wearing, but it's the hours and hours of them putting this together and thinking how they want to place something. I mean, it's magic. And this is 1970. This is Bridgehampton. This is what I was telling you about, this 37 acres. Bridgehampton was our artist commune, like a commune, but it was like really like underground cinema. You could do anything you wanted. I would pull out my film camera, I'd pull out my still camera, and this is tailor-made 1970 in Bridgehampton, at the house. So that's Jane County at the 82 Club that I told you about on 4th Street in the basement. And this Jane. Jane was great, man, so it's, And he's did that great song, Did everybody know his song? If you're not man enough to be a woman, fuck off or something. Yeah, if you don't want to fuck me, baby, fuck off.
It was a hit in England.
Okay, Sharon Needles, Lady Bunny. This was a poster at the Brooklyn Museum for the Studio 54 show Balloon Boy. This was taken on New Year's Eve in '77. This is a great shot. This was I shot the spandex line for this designer, and we were walking through Central Park, and I saw this empty parrot cage. I said to the models, get in the parrot cage, and there was a hose there. And so I turned on the hose, and the models did all this stuff, and we got the shot. And we left, and nobody said anything. And then and then we walked back, and the parrots were in the cage again. It's Amanda Lepore. Oh, sorry. This is a great, the DJ, if you made it to the DJ booth, and you were in the DJ booth at Studio 54, you made it. I mean, you were a celebrity. So the DJ booth was, like the curtain behind Oz and the Wizard of Oz. That's what it was like. And this is diamond dust coming down from the ceiling of Studio 54 on New Year's Eve. And this is the stroke of midnight. This was a big, huge mural at the Brooklyn Museum. This is the stroke of midnight, exactly the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve, Studio 54, 1977, 78. And it's Diana Ross, stoned. And this is what people, the clubs, the Saint and Studio and everybody, we used to get liquid amyl nitrate and then put it on the rags in their sweatbands and then snort it and dance and then do whatever. That's Steve Rebell coming out his birthday cake, stoned on Quaaludes. How many people remember Quaaludes? 714 Roars. This New Year's Studio. That's Steve Rebell, one of the owners, and Carmen DeLessi at PR. And that's Norman Kamali's original sleeping bag, because I just saw Norman today. And we saw her line today, her collection today. And that's Studio, some of the scenes. Does anybody know who this is that hasn't seen my presentation? Anybody guess who this is? Take a wild guess. That is the original Raging Bull, Jake LaMotta. Before Martin Scorsese's film. It was taken in 1977. And the way I shot this, I wanted to shoot it, that's his wife, and I wanted to shoot this like a 1940s, Versailles type picture. That kind of look, that 40s look, because his nose and everything, Jake, you could tell he's been through the mill, This is a famous designer at the time, Larry Legatsby, who the designer Rick Owens was really inspired by, and his wife. Now we're getting into stuff. One of my photographs is about body language. I like to look at body language and photograph body language. And if you look at this, there's all this in the statues. That's Diana Vreeland, Pierre Cardin, and Betty Bloomingdale. And Bill Blass. And like the thing is, that was taken at the Met early, and the body language on everybody, like I'm not even there. They don't even know I'm there, but the body language is amazing on this. The way she is with her cigarette and her jaw, and the way she's cocked like this, I love that. It's incredible. Okay, I gotta move around. So this is Diana Ross and Raquel Welch, Leon von Furstenberg. This is a great shot. This is First Lady Betty Ford, before the Betty Ford Center, sitting on Liza Minnelli's lap with a drink in her hand. And there's no bodyguards. This is called Unguarded Moments. I'm just going to run through this. This is the era of steroids, heavy steroids. I love this shot because it's really like the detail in this shot. The girl with the sunglasses and the gloves, and the guy's got the money. He's got a scar on his face. I mean, everything works, and this shot is outrageous. What happened, This guy, like someone hit him with a 12 gauge before he came into the club, So this is a great shot. This is shot is like Steve and Ian let me stay at studio, like I said, really early in the morning after closing. And so I used to walk around the nooks and crannies and all the dark rooms, and I'd find people, zoned out. And so I saw these two girls on their knees, and the room was totally dark. And I get on my stomach with my camera and flash, and I noticed the carpet is salt and pepper carpet, okay? And so I'm wondering what the hell these girls are doing. They got a Zippo lighter, the flame is lit, and they're looking for their spilled cocaine at 4:30 in the morning on a salt and pepper carpet. Good luck. And that's after hours. And that's Fashion Center. I spent tons and tons and tons of hours and years in the Fashion Center. So this is, at the time in the 80s, was the most expensive fashion shot. And you could see all the supermodels there, everybody, if you look at it. And what's great about this shot, if you look at this closely in the shot, the supermodels know exactly where to be, in the center. Because in the end, it's distortion. In fact, this shot took me 6 minutes to do. 6 minutes from setup. And this is Frances Stein. She was the muse of Calvin Stein. She was incredible. I used to love going to the designer's showroom, the designer room in America, and also in European ateliers, and looking at the mood boards. Because a mood board was really incredible to me, because that's what they really loved. And so Frances used to bring in, like I remember one time Frances would bring in this chip that she found in the street, and it was this like weird color. And she says, Calvin, look at this color, this chip. And Calvin would do a collection on from it. And that's Calvin. That's his Fire Island days. Calvin had an incredible, incredible penthouse in Central Park West, and he designed the whole roof area with all hot tubs for the boys, overlooking Central Park, and it was fantastic. And in the penthouse floor was a huge silver tray with mounds of cocaine. Okay, so that's Calvin in his weight room. That's Calvin. See, they just had the new designer, the Calvin Klein show. And it's all everybody you see everybody, David Geffen, everybody in the thing. That's Norma with her sleeping bag coats. I'm gonna run through these. Norma Kamali. This is Norma, this is the shoe campaign. Norma and I did a lot of videos, fashion videos, a lot of campaigns. Shoes, hats, everything. So this is Norma's shoe campaign. This is my favorite friend, Halston, larger than life. Like Halston! Look at him, look at the way he cocks his hands, and his arms. And this is really incredible. So this is like, and Halston had a beautiful, beautiful salon, design room in the Olympic Towers and the penthouse, and it was like 80 foot high ceilings and all mirrored. We used to call it the fishbowl. So when I look at this shot, if you notice in the back, there's two spirals of St. Patrick's Cathedral. So my quote of this shot is, in Halston, when I shoot models, I used to shoot the models of Halstonettes most of the time with the two spirals behind. So my quote is, when I walk up Fifth Avenue and I walk past St. Patrick's Cathedral, I look up at the spirals, and I know I should be thinking of God, but I think of the God of fashion, Halston. So that's Elsa Peretti, Halston's muse. And this is in Halston's design. This is in Halston, with Carla and Halston. That's Karen Bjornson and Halston. Halstonettes. These were my friends. The way I got these pictures, they're very relaxed because I knew them. I knew them from way back. All the designers, all the models, everything. Like this picture here. Like nobody really knows. Like, I'm not saying, oh, let me take your picture, or look at me, or this, or that. It's different. So this is in Paris. This is Yves Saint Laurent, and spent a lot of time with Yves and Atelier. I'm going to run through these. This is Yves' crew. That's Munya's muse. Munya. And that's Gia, famous Gia. I told my Gia story the other day, but I'm not going to tell it now. But she was a good friend. I loved her. I miss her dearly. And that's Madonna before Madonna, 1979. So I didn't know there was a Madonna. I mean, she's Madonna, but she's not Madonna. You know what I mean? She's Madonna. But I walked up there and I said, Madonna, do you want to trade t-shirts? I love your t-shirt. So let's go in the men's room or the ladies' room and change t-shirts. But she said she didn't want to mess up her headdress. So I said, thank you, Madonna. This is Tina Chow, famous Tina Chow, incredible, incredible woman style. Andre Leontali and Pat Cleveland. Let me run through these because I don't have much time, so I love this texture and everything going on here. So beautiful. This is from Angelo, my friend Angelo is really great. He danced at Gilded Grape also. But he was a model for a modeling agency in 1979 called La Rocca. And it was a downtown modeling agency, fantastic, incredible. They had Johnny Dynell, they had everybody, incredible. They had so many people in it. And a lot of people that were in Liquid Sky, the movie. So Liz Taylor. And this is a great shot. This is a very good friend of mine. This is Pauline Tougier, the designer. You probably don't know who she is, but I love this shot because look what's going on here. There's so much going on here. There's this Eiffel Tower, the flag, this design here, this going on here, earrings thing. There's so much going on in detail, you know. Farrah Fawcett. Everybody knows what Farrah Fawcett was, right? And this is Mark. This is Mark. This one, they used to dress up as silver. So this is Bebe Buell and Serinda Fox. And they both shared the same husband or baby. This is Pat Cleveland. This is what's called the sandwich, where guys would, you know, I'll go on. Grace Jones. This is at Regimes. Regimes was a great nightclub on Park Avenue, and you know, fantastic. So that's Maria Schiano and Halston and Pat Cleveland. This is when models. This is 1 year into Iman coming to New York. Iman and I did tons of trips together, a lot of stuff together. But anyway, this is you know, they used to do their own makeup. The fashion shows were in showrooms, and the models changed in the sewing rooms, and they did their hair and makeup wherever they could. And that's Naomi Sims, one of the first women models of color. Carla Bruni, these are supermodels. Jerry Hall, Unguarded Moments. Iman, Pat Cleveland. This is all early 70s. Cindy Crawford, early. Naomi and Kevin Akon, they're famous makeup artists. See this Pat Cleveland model, some socialite. Divine. I love this here. This is what I love to shoot. So Karl Lagerfeld. Karl Lagerfeld always had a prop, either a fan or whatever. Valentino, Sophia Loren. This is a great shot, just so the fast story. What happened was I didn't have a pass. My friend told me what the pass looked like. I went to the art store, made an armband. When the lights went low at Madison Square Garden, I snuck down to the front of the stage and started snapping pictures. And there was 13 other photographers there. And I said, oh man, this is great. Mick is doing all this stuff and everybody's taking pictures and I love it. And all of a sudden the PR later came out and collected all the 13 armbands from these people. And I saw it and I took off my armband, put it in my pocket, slipped to the side of the stage, waited 2 songs, and then put the armband back on, went to the front of the stage, and did all these shots. And Mick knew, because he's so intelligent, he knew exactly what I was doing. And at the end of the last song, he picks up a fucking bucket and throws the water at me, and I snap it and move out of the way. And he goes, Ronnie Spector, Be My Baby. Sly Stone, Everyday People. Adam Ant Music. Queen, Freddie Mercury. That was taken in 1974 before they were the opening band to Mata Hoople. Everybody knows Mata Hoople, right? All the young dudes. That's Debbie and Chris and Brian Ferry from Roxy Music. At Spacey, he used to run East Village. They had a big mural of him before they built a high rise. Everybody knows that is, right? Steve Tyler, that's taken in 73. That's when they first started. This is Patty and Keith's first date, one of their first dates. Wow. Lou. I was very good friends with Lou Reed. Oh. This is David. A shout out for David real fast. David from the New York Dolls, he did the forward to my book. And my book you can buy at any bookstore, Amazon or Rizzoli, anywhere, Barnes & Noble. But the thing is, he did the forward of the book. And the thing is, he's very sick. He has throat cancer. It's on social media. He has a GoFundMe page. So if you can donate anything you can afford. He has throat cancer, and he has cancer, the brain cancer, and he fell the other day, and he broke his back in 2 places. And he needs help bad. And he was influential with the music and fashion world, the New York Dolls. They influence everyone in America, in Europe. David Bowie, you name it. They all got it from this beautiful, beautiful soul. David, who's dressed up in women's clothes from vintage stores, from thrift shops. And there he is. My friend David Johansen, I love him. Looking for a kiss. And there he is, my other friend, Iggy. That's Iggy Pop. And one thing great about Iggy was that, you know, I used to be friends, I am friends with his road manager, Danny Fields, and, you know, I used to go to his house on 21st Street, and, you know, we used to smoke weed and, you know, get high before a concert. And Iggy had one rule, and, you know, that I knew about. And his rule was that if a photographer got too close to Iggy during a show, Iggy would break their cameras. And Iggy got stoned one night at Danny's, and he goes, Dustin, he goes, don't worry, you can get as close as you want, and I'm not going to break your camera. I said, oh, thanks, Iggy. And so, you know, that's the intimacy of being close to people. Look at how close this audience is. I mean, I can't get any closer, you know. That's Jonathan Richman, Modern Lovers. Who knows about them? Who knows the Modern Lovers here? Incredible band. You know, Paloma, incredible songs. Roadrunner, Paloma. Look at them up on Google or, you know, Spotify. Modern Lovers, Jonathan Richman. It was taken in 1973. David Bowie. Psy. David. Grace Jones, Demure, Grace Jones. This is Debbie Harry before Blondie. Stilettos, do you know Stilettos? Elton. And there's a couple. It's Paloma Picasso and her husband and her boyfriend. This is a great shot. I spent the whole day incredible. Sunset Boulevard was one of my favorite movies from $1 Million Movie. They used to show it over and over, like, you know, the Shemshak Redemption. So, like, you know, the thing is, I loved it, you know, like, you know, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. So when they told me that I could spend the day with Gloria Swanson, I said, oh my God, you kidding me? And so I knocked on her door on Fifth Avenue into her apartment, and she invited me in, and this lady who opened the door, who you see on the screen, she's big, right? And this lady is like this. And I said, hi, Gloria. I said, I'm Dustin. She says, come on in. She was so nice. We had such a great time, incredible time together. And she made me lunch. And halfway through lunch, she said, do you want to see a trick? I said, sure, Gloria. So she got up. She went over to this vase, and she pulled out this long stem black carnation. And she balances on it her false eyelash. And I go, oh, that's nice, Gloria. It's balanced on her false eyelash. Look at that bracelet. Look at that, man. Talk about S&M, man. Look at that bracelet. That's real. That was incredible. I had a lot of shots there. This is Liz Taylor and Bianca and Halston. I love everything going on there with the fur, you know, the doggy. And I love this shot. Talk about body language. You know, look at this body language. Diana Vreeland. The Diana Vreeland. Now this is downtown, gritty, elegant. Uptown, gritty, elegant. This is in this DJ booth, and they're all there. Ian Schrader, the owner, Calvin, Brooke Shields, DJ. This is Barbara and Swifty Lazar. This is Halston and her father, Vincent Minnelli, who made a lot of great movies. You see how Liza and I would constantly read, evaluate our relationship. This is Jay and Chris Royer and Tom Cashin. Now, Jackie O, and that's really Raswell and John Fairchild. Jackie O, you know, like I know some photographers, I'm not gonna mention any names, had a lot of problems with Jackie O, but I never had a problem with Jackie. I knew her son, John, but the thing is, she always respected me because I was never a paparazzi. I'm not a paparazzi. And I always had a respect. And one thing about photography, you have to have respect for your people. There's got to be respect between the two of you. And you know what? There's a lot of times I spent with designers and models and celebrities and everybody that I would chat with them and not even take a picture. And believe me, I wanted to, but I didn't. And they really appreciated that. So think about that sometime. You know, you don't have to always like push the front line in like the, you know, the Eagles. So that's Joey Harris. Joey, this take shots. Gregory Peck. This is the Swans. Truman Capote. This is in my studio, Andy McDowell. We were shooting a Life magazine cover. Look at the cover of that Vogue. Crazy, right? Betsy Johnson. This is Bob Mackie, Fran Lebowitz, Truman Capote, Lizer, Bianca. This is John Kennedy. And that's John Kennedy. He was wild. He was wild. Great guy, but wild. Wild. And that's After Hours. After Hours. And this Arnold and this Maria Shriver. I love the sign above it, you know, just perfect, you know. Arnold. And that's not his babysitter, that's Maria Shriver. That's Richard Avedon and Twyla Thorpe. Johnny Thunders. Liz. Ann Schrader and Pat Buckley. Andy Warhol. I'm just going to run through these. Brooke Shields. That's Sandra Rhodes and Tina Chow. Zonkt. Some of these are Andre. This is one of my favorites. This is stylist. This is Jacqueline DeRees. Incredible, incredible woman. Incredible style. She walked like a bird, you know? Incredible. You know, she floated through the whole scene. She was incredible, just incredible. I loved her, and she was so intelligent. What a woman. Incredible. Anna Sui, Johnny Versace, Avid Shin. I just saw her an hour ago. This is The Untouchables. I shot this for a Life magazine cover. I spent a week with them. They were great. Sean Connery, Kevin Costner. They were wonderful. Incredible. That's a whole nother story. And this is the last, this is like one I did for Life magazine, the cover and stuff. It's Daryl Hannah before Splash. With Splash, we did underwater shots. It's all in Jamaica. And that's the end. When life is gone, it is gone. From doom.
If we had a time machine, which event that you've covered would you like to go to tonight?
All of them.
You can only have one.
Oh, only one? Oh, it's a tough one. You know what, I am very grateful and fortunate to be able to, you know, I showed you in the beginning all those decades, you know? I mean, all that stuff, I mean, from the beatnik era, from all that, there were so many beautiful moments. Gene, I wish I could say one, but I can't.
Yep. Don't make him choose.
How did you get that first job on the Sterile Cuckoo?
Well, the thing is, my uncle was the head of the Teamsters Union, Rufus Elefanti, and the Teamsters handled all the, you know, logistics. So Paramount Pictures literally came to upstate. The reason why they came to the Adirondacks is because the Sterile Cuckoo, the book, was written by a professor that taught at Hamilton College in Clinton. And so he said, if you want to do the movie, you have to bring the whole Paramount to the Adirondacks, which the Paramount crew from Hollywood loved the Adirondacks during the fall. And it was wonderful. We had such a great time. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Any more questions? Hands up.
Come on, someone give me a question, please. All their work.
Can you talk about the process of your selection of the images for your book that's come out, and just like your perspective of going back and looking at all these past images that you took and reflections that you had with that? It's kind of a loaded question, but
No, it's a great question. It's a great question, and you know what? It was really difficult. I mean, I have millions and millions and millions of images. I mean, I just shot, you know, before I got here. But the thing is, it was really difficult. It's very difficult, and this is only a teeny, teeny, teeny slice of images from this period. Trust me. Yeah. So it was really difficult. You know, it's. I mean, I wish I could say it was a process. It was tough. It was tough, you know, picking out ones. Yes.
Hold on.
Thanks for asking the questions, please.
Dustin, thank you for this. This has been great.
My pleasure.
Every time I see you, you're always repping the West 4th Street hat and the Edie shirt. What is the significance, the importance of these items, why you kind of fashion
Well,
them so much?
Edie, I knew, and she was a friend. I knew her toward the end because I wasn't old enough, but you know, I knew her toward the end. And the West 4th hat is from the basketball court. There's only 2 famous basketball courts in the East Coast. One's on West 4th Street, and the other one's in the Bronx. So I love basketball. So.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing all your works. Piece of your works and experiences. So, you mentioned that you spend lots of time shooting, like different people on the street in Times Square when you first moved into New York. Why was Times Square? What was like? What about Times Square was making it like more, like that you want to go back and keep on like document different people and look for different fashion or type of, you know, like different things that you want to photograph besides other areas in Manhattan?
That's a good question because you know what? Because I don't know. I've always gone to the gritty, the unallowed, you know, taking risks, the dark, even though the light, I like light, but you know, I go into those corners, those nooks and crannies, and that, you know, I mean, where people aren't, supposedly. So you know, I like to scout out. I've always been like that. In the Adirondack Mountains, I used to scout out like these places, you know, these little hidden forts and these little caves and gullies, all these things. So in New York, it's the same way. But the reason why I love Times Square, as long as the West Side, I love the West Side because of the freedom. Times Square, when people went to Times Square, it just seemed that they loosened their belt and they were freer. They were freer in their minds. You know, just like when some people go into Disneyland, they lose themselves.
I have the mic now. Oh yes, yes. Sorry. Yeah. So, first of all, my God, just mind-blowing presentation. Your energy is just
Thank you.
infectious. I really like.
Thank you.
I don't know, man. Just to spend a day in your life, I don't know if I'd survive. Like seriously. But you did briefly mention in the beginning a little bit on just your experiences with Gen Alpha and things of that nature, and I'm really curious about it, and I just wondered if you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Well, Gen Alpha is the new generation.
No, yeah, but your experiences in particular, because I don't know what you have seen and what, you know,
Well,
you're
I've
referring
always,
to.
you know what, from my, you know, not sounding pompous, but, you know, I've always been gifted enough to gravitate toward the new. I love new. Just like I photographed Madonna before Madonna, I love new. You know, that was in my DNA from my family, you know. But I always loved the new. So if you want the new, you got to go to the new. But not necessarily the generation, but, you know, it's a mix. You know, so like, you know, that's, you know, I mean, I go where the excitement is, where the energy is, where the vibe is, where the, you know, the body language is, where like things are happening, you know? You know, I get bored real fast in photography. I'm not a person that takes a lot of shots. You know, I get a shot, boom, I know I want it.
Hi, Dustin.
Hi, Lise, thanks for coming.
You're quite welcome. I wouldn't miss this. I have a question, but I'm starting to think maybe I just dreamt it or something. Did you work for Women's Wear Daily?
Yeah.
I think that's
6
where we
years I
met.
worked for W. I did over
Is that what you were?
5,000 W covers.
Is that what you were referring to when you said you were bored to death having to run
No,
back and
no,
forth?
not at all.
Oh, okay.
No,
I was just
not at all.
wondering
No,
because
but
that
no,
would I
woman's-
could
wo-
understand that.
W magazine. I was talking to Bill about this last night. W magazine was almost like my, you know, even though I had a lot of photography under my belt, you know, because I did a lot of stuff before that. I started in '76 at W and Women's Wear, and then left in '84. 83, I think, 83, 84. But the thing is, I was talking to Bill about this last night on the phone. You know what? It was a rough, it was an incredible job. I mean, I met all kinds of designers and everybody, celebrities. I photographed Catherine Deneuve, I photographed Sissy, but all kinds of people. You don't even see a show, you know, the Evita, the Patti LuPone, you know, all this stuff. Incredible stuff hanging around Sardi's and you name it. But anyway, the thing is, what I loved about it is that, you know what, I was telling Bill last night on the phone, you know, it's about photography for me and film. It's about putting one foot in front of the other and doing the next right thing. And like I had to start, like, you know, there's the levels that you work up to. Like I was telling Bill about certain things that I shot, you know, we were talking about, you know, different photographers shooting different things and what level they are. Like I could never shoot, you know, the Eagles in New Orleans, the Super Bowl, because I'm not that kind of photographer. I don't know where to stand or whatever. You know, those guys are seasoned. But anyway, at W, it was really great because it was a training ground for me because John Fairchild was the head of, it was a Fairchild family. And at that time at W, in 1976, it was the Bible of fashion. You know, people just talked about this in the Epperson show where I just went to. Anyway, it was the Bible of fashion. And fashion designers at the time in America and in Europe were feared of W and women's wear. They were feared. Women's wear in W could make or break a designer. Not now, but then. It was unbelievable. It had so much power. John Fairchild had so much power, it was unbelievable. And I mean, it was like opening of the Red Sea anywhere. So like, you know, the thing is, but for myself as a photographer, it was a training ground because they were very demanding for me. They knew I was a good photographer because I had experience. But man, I'm telling you, they knew because I was spontaneous and I was fast and I could get the shot, and I would like shoot maybe 12 or 13 different designers in 7th Avenue, you know, going 5 feet, shooting Bill Blass, maybe Jeffrey Bean, maybe Pauline Tegere, you know, Diana Vreeland. I mean, and then go here and then shoot this and shoot that and shoot this with no assistance, no Polaroids. And go on location on these trips, on these 10-day, 2-week trips with Iman and all these models. And I had to shoot with Pentax 6.7 and 35 millimeter film with Kodachrome. John Fairchild, just like Life magazine, they only wanted Kodachrome 25. And I don't know if you know what Kodachrome is, or 25, but it's a film stock, and it's very slow. It's 25 ASA, but in those days, you didn't have digital, so you didn't have white balancing. And you didn't, you know, your complexion, if you're shooting beauty, like I used to do a lot of stuff for Vidal Sassoon and different cosmetic companies, and if you're shooting beauty, you have to have the skin tones right on. So my MO, I know this is a long answer, but my MO is I used to go to Kodak at Fair Lawn, New Jersey, order 5,000 rolls of film, but the film was in a sheet. It was in the processing plant in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and it was one long sheet, but it was called a cut number, okay? And that cut number was under the same tolerance of processing, okay? Then they used to take that cut number, that sheet, that would put 5,000, maybe sometimes 10,000 rolls of film, and then I used to bring it back to my studio, which was on the penthouse of Bed Bath & Beyond, the whole area, and put it in my freezers. And my assistants and I used to test it out, the film, under every conceivable lighting situation. And we used to use CC filters. And they were like, filters that changed the color balance of the color of the skin. Because of Kodachrome, you never knew. Kodachrome was, the latitude of Kodachrome, especially 25, was 1/10 of a stop. So if you were 1/10 over or 1/10 under, it was either muddy or washed out. So it had to be perfect. So you had to test out and keep logs for everything on your film. This is before Ektachrome. This is Kodachrome. So, it was beautiful. I still have all the color. Like all that Daryl Hannah stuff is all Kodachrome. Life magazine only wanted Kodachrome. I shot, The Untouchables Kodachrome. I shot Chorus Line Kodachrome. I shot Avita in Kodachrome. All that stuff. Andy McDowell was Life magazine. It's all Kodachrome. So most people wanted Kodachrome because it's beautiful color, if you got it right. But John Fairchild, getting back to W days, John Fairchild, I had no assistant. So when I went on a trip, I had Pentax 6.7, 2 Nikons with Kodachrome, with black and white 35, and a 6.7, because the 6.7 is a format of W, like the format of Interview magazine. 2 1/4, 3 1/4. So the thing is, he wanted it right. And I'll tell you, I told this Bill last night, when I got back, I had to hand the Kodachrome rolls to John Fairchild and never even looked at it. So I had to be on the money. No Polaroids, no assistant. My editors used to hold a reflector. So I was a learning ground, and I learned fast. Because to John Fairchild, boy, he's like.
All right, let's get one more on Steve, yes?
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. This is really amazing. I loved hearing about Versailles, and what other, did you meet, was Todd Papageorge there?
Of course, I knew Todd.
Yeah. Todd
didn't hang around City that much. For funny is, he was a great photographer. Todd was a great photographer.
He was my teacher.
Oh, he was a great photographer. Great, wonderful, and legendary. But the thing is, he didn't hang around studio. That book was done in 5 days, 5 nights at studio. That's it. He says in the book. But the thing is, he didn't hang around the studio that much. But he hung around Central Park a lot, and he hung around with the other photographers. Todd was great. I love Todd. He was a really great. One thing about, and this is what I want to bring out. One thing about the 70s and 80s, and even now, I have a lot of friends here that are photographers, artists. It's really important to be in relationship with other artists. You know what? My philosophy is this. If I had 10 people standing in this line, and we all had the same camera and the same lens, and we're shooting the same subject, I'll guarantee you we'd get 10 different shots. So it doesn't matter. So it's important to stay in relationship with each other. We need each other, the community, especially now in the era of uncertainty.